Good morning, everybody. My name is Simon Hamilton. I'm the Chief Executive of Belfast Chamber, and you're very welcome to this morning's event, which is entitled Attracting Investment and Supporting Trade. I don't need to remind anybody of what a challenging year it has been for business in Belfast and right across the region and indeed around the world as we've grappled with the combination of COVID-19 and Brexit finally becoming a reality. What we're going to do over the next hour is examine and consider and look at how Belfast is positioned as a place to attract continued investment and to create jobs, and also as a base to trade and to sell to the world. We're going to do that with the help of InvestNI. And before I hand over to Steve Harper from InvestNI, I also want to say a warm word of welcome to Patricia Rogers, who is the Support Services Centre Head at Allen Overy, and to Keith Farley, who is Managing Director of Aflac Northern, two firms that have made Belfast their home. We'll be talking to them a little bit later on. Also want to say a word of welcome to Matthew Nesbitt, who is the founder of Halo Technologies, a young local entrepreneur who is based here in Belfast, but taking on the world. But before we speak to Keith and Patricia and Matthew later on, I'm going to hand over to Steve Harper. Steve is the Executive Director of International Business at InvestNI. He's going to tell us how the organisation are going to be crucial to Belfast and Northern Ireland bouncing back after the pandemic, what the organisation is doing to help businesses to sell to the world and also to attract companies to Belfast and Northern Ireland and make it their home and create jobs. So Steve, it's over to you.
Thank you, Simon, and lovely to be here this morning. Just share my screen. Everybody see that okay? You see that, Simon?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, listen, it's just fantastic to be here this morning and to be able to discuss some of the work that we in Invest Northern Ireland are doing. And thank you to everyone who's taken the time out of the busy days to spend some time with us this morning. So I guess this morning I really want to outline the work that InvestNI has been doing and what we've achieved over the last year, how we're continuing to attract new investors into Northern Ireland. I want to touch a little bit on the importance of the wonderful hospitality and I guess the spirit of Northern Ireland and Belfast and the can-do attitude that we really use to sell Northern Ireland around the world. And it's so important and an important part of our sales process. I want to touch a little bit on the recovery plan that we have in place to try and aid economic recovery in Northern Ireland. And then I want to touch and outline a little bit on how InvestNI can help those businesses who have a competitive product or service and who are keen to try and sell that outside of Northern Ireland. I'm sure most of you will know that Invest Northern Ireland is the economic development agency for Northern Ireland. And really, our purpose is to really try and grow the economy. The top right quadrant of this circle is the piece that we're probably very widely known for, which is attracting inward investment. But in reality, it is a very small part of what we do. We have a big push to increase jobs right throughout Northern Ireland and to increase the quality of those jobs and the salaries. We have a role really trying to push and inspire companies to get into innovation. One of our largest roles is, and I'll talk a little bit about later on this morning, is about the importance of exports and getting companies and inspiring companies to get into exporting and to sell their products and services right outside of Northern Ireland, both locally in the Republic of Ireland and across the water in Great Britain, but also then further afield into the EU and right around the world. And then the last piece is about trying to inspire and grow entrepreneurship throughout the Northern Ireland economy. So we have, as an organisation, been highly successful over the last 10 years in supporting local businesses to grow and also attracting FDI into Northern Ireland. As you can see from some of those stats there, we have supported over 10,000 businesses with investments of 7 billion and over the last 10 years, creating 67,500 new jobs. Well, I'll just correct that. That's not Invest Northern Ireland creating those jobs. That is the companies and the support that government funding allows them to create those jobs. But as Simon has said at the start, Both COVID-19 and the EU exit has led to a very, very challenging year, and every aspect of the Northern Ireland economy has been touched by both of those factors. And some of our sectors of the economy, such as tourism, retail, hospitality, I know many of you members in the chamber have been hit particularly hard by that, alongside manufacturing and aerospace. But I guess for us as an organisation, like any large office occupier in the middle of Belfast, it has affected us massively as well. We've been had to move to remote working, like everyone else, on day one, and it was, I guess, a little bit fortuitous that we had been experimenting with looking at remote working prior to the pandemic coming out, and so we were actually in a very lucky scenario in that all of our staff had the equipment ready to go, that we were able to pretty much close the office doors, lock the front door, and carry on working from home. And last year was, for everyone in Northern Ireland, extremely difficult. We have a business support team, and we're one of the, I would say, few government agencies that still has a telephone helpline. Last year we answered over 40,000 business inquiries. You may not know that the nibusinessinfo.co.uk website, which has been, I guess, a real font of knowledge and of the various support programs and how to take advantage of furlough and those things, is run by Invest Northern Ireland as well. Last year that had 5.4 million visits and over 9 million page views. So we just saw huge spikes in businesses looking for advice and guidance. On top of all that, we had EU exit and coming through, and we've been running a number of advice clinics, webinars, one-to-ones, and we've had over 3,500 attendees at that. Throughout all of this, we've tried to keep going with our business as usual and helping companies to, as I talked about, grow their exports, grow their research and development. But we also implemented, alongside of those, a number of COVID recovery support programs. And having to do that very, very fast at pace. So there are 8 new programs that were available, offering up to £5 million of support. And then really for us as an organisation, the biggest change to us over the course of the last year was that on behalf of the Northern Ireland Executive, we had to step in to provide the COVID recovery and COVID emergency funds. So over the course of the last year, we've had over 100 members of our team completely dedicated to answering the phones and trying to get that money and support out. And to date, we've passed out £110 million of support to just over 15,000 businesses. So for us, it was gone from dealing with 2,000 or 3,000 businesses right up to over 15,000 and very small businesses, and trying to support those. So it's been a tough year for everyone involved. So my role in Invest Northern Ireland is I head up our international team, which has 2 remits, and one is attracting foreign direct investment into Northern Ireland, and the other is then to help those companies, Indigenous companies here and international companies here, to sell their products and services throughout the world. COVID-19 has made things extremely difficult in terms of foreign direct investment. The biggest, strongest sales tool that we have is actually to get people here and bring them across to Belfast and Northern Ireland and show them our wonderful hospitality, the work ethic, get them to meet both local businesses and existing US investors or foreign direct investment companies to talk about that. And the US is our largest source market for high value FDI, predominantly in technology and digital services. And despite the challenges presented by COVID, it's been very, very difficult to bring those people across, but we have recently welcomed a number of new tech investments from the US this year. Some of those are Sigilant, who brought 65 new jobs, and Chicago-based Peak 6, who brought 160 new jobs into Northern Ireland. Sorry, my screen has just... Do you see that okay?
Yes, we can, yeah.
Sorry, I've got something going on here at the minute. Sorry.
No problem, Steve. Do you want me I can share it from my computer here?
I think I'm okay now.
Okay, no worries.
No, yeah, you can still see it okay. Apologies. So I guess the one thing I guess through COVID-19 has been how Northern Ireland has demonstrated its resilience. Many of our employers across Northern Ireland were able to move into remote working. And we knew, I guess, beforehand that we had a very good, solid digital infrastructure across Northern Ireland, and the investments that were made, by much aligned politicians many years ago in terms of rolling out broadband in Northern Ireland actually meant that we were very, very well placed to deal with the crisis that came across. And I guess we're not just standing out in technology. Our people and the Northern Ireland work ethic that is very, very famous around the world has proved that people, when they get back into their houses, had the connection, were able to work from home and carry on. So it's been very, very it's been a very good story, I would say, for Northern Ireland. And maybe we'll hear from Keith and some of the others later on, talking about how Northern Ireland compared to other centres around the world in terms of that resilience. I think we came out extremely well in that. And I would like to just to say thank you to a number of people who are on this call and probably who don't know that need to be thanked. When we bring an investor into Northern Ireland, it is the people of Northern Ireland, it is the hospitality in Belfast, it is the friendliness of people in the city, right from restaurants to corner shops and through to recruitment agents. All of that, I guess, Northern Ireland piece is just our personality, and it really helps sell the place. So thank you for those of you who engage with potential investors that we bring across. The next slide I'm going to show is just a little slice of a video that we have which promotes Northern Ireland, and we will take slots on US commercials and various countries around the world on TV. It's just to give you a little flavour of what we try and show. So I'll try and play that now. So that's a little flavour of the type of TV advert that we take around the world. I have to say it's the part of my job that I love the most, which is selling where we're from around the world. In my view, it's an easy sell to sell something that you absolutely love. So it's been really good. I want to talk a little bit about Northern Irish Connections, and which is our diaspora programme. And really, it's got a threefold mission. One is to celebrate Northern Ireland and everything about it around the world, and to keep people connected to Northern Ireland. It is to try and harness the talent of our diaspora right around the world. So people who have either come from Northern Ireland or who are married to someone from Northern Ireland or have worked or lived here, and really try and tap into their networks to help our companies to sell into the markets that they're in, but also to try and attract some investment into Northern Ireland. And the third part then is really to showcase the quality of career opportunities that are now available in Northern Ireland. it surprises me when I travel around the world and meet people who are originally from Northern Ireland and maybe moved away 10 or 15 years ago, that when you start to talk about the companies that have set up in Northern Ireland, that they had no idea and they didn't realize that the career opportunities that were there. And we want to attract people back. We want to attract people into Northern Ireland. And so through Northern Irish Connections, we're trying to do that. So if I had one ask today, you can see the email address at the top. I would ask you to register with Northern Irish Connections, or if you know people around the world who are originally from here or who have an affinity for here, if you could ask them to register, we'd like to keep them up to date with everything that's happening here and trying to do that. And the power of our diaspora is really starting to, I would say, bring new investments into Northern Ireland. Just this year, we had a number of repeat investors into Northern Ireland who are either have been originally from here or who have been senior managers in US corporations who have invested in Northern Ireland and possibly moved on to other companies, and then they bring them. So that whole connection to Northern Ireland is very strong and is starting to bear fruit for us. I want to touch a little bit on EU exit and the unique position that Northern Ireland finds itself in at the moment as a result of the Northern Ireland Protocol. There has been a lot of media coverage on this, and there are certain advantages and there are certain disadvantages to that. Don't want to be political at all. But I guess what I want to try and get across this morning is that we will use whatever tool we have to try and position Northern Ireland as a place that those investors looking to expand around the world will have. We will continue to sell Northern Ireland as being one of the most cost-effective places, having the amazing talent that we have. And we do have a low corporation tax. Yes, we're not as low as our neighbours in the Republic of Ireland, but in Western Europe, 19% corporation tax is the second lowest. But we feel that there are, in certain sectors, some new opportunities that are arising where Northern Ireland has the opportunity to sell. The only place where we can sell free from customs declarations, rules of origin certificate, and non-tariff barriers on the sale of goods into both GB and the EU. And we have had a number of inquiries from companies keen to understand how that may help their business and how Northern Ireland could be a good location for them to come across. We are also extremely well positioned geographically in Western Europe to cover what's called the follow the sun model for US corporations, where Northern Ireland can take over operations from the Asian operations overnight and then lead into to the US time zone, which has been strong. Want to talk a little bit about selling outside of Northern Ireland, and whilst certainly here locally a lot of the media coverage is on foreign direct investment, actually one of the biggest parts of our roles as an organisation is supporting the growth and development of our local businesses and trying to get them to sell outside of Northern Ireland. And you're going to hear from Matthew from Halo Technologies about his journey and his 2-year-old business and how they've set up and how they are succeeding in growing their sales globally. We are a very small place, 1.8 million people. We have an economy that is dominated by SMEs. 95% of the firms in Northern Ireland employ fewer than 10 people, and they almost all of them are exclusively focused on selling on domestic markets. And so for us, the transformational impact of companies seeking to sell outside of Northern Ireland is massively strong, and we will be, over the course of the next 2 years, running out a very strong program in terms of inspiring companies to look at new markets and take them to those. It is going to be critical, I think, I believe, for the Northern Ireland economy to recover. We need to get more companies exporting. We need to get those companies who are currently exporting into new markets, into further markets, and we need to get them selling more. And we will do whatever we can to support those businesses and to do that. In terms of our global office footprint, and I have to give credit to Simon on this, who really, before he left his previous position, had wrote in a significant expansion of Invest Northern Ireland's overseas presence back in 2016. When we expanded, we added 10 offices in 1 year, which was the task Simon had set me at the time, which was a little bit daunting. But we have opened those 10 offices. Today, we have 23 offices around the world. We are about to go on a further expansion of putting more resources into those markets, because this year has really demonstrated the importance of having people representing Northern Ireland overseas in terms of trade and commerce. We have, with a global travel ban, we have been able to represent companies, Northern Irish companies in their markets, to help them sell their products, to keep in contact with their customers. And it has really proven to be very, very beneficial. Our teams overseas obviously have twofold jobs. They have a role to sell Northern Ireland, obviously as an inward investment location, but the vast majority of the work that we do in our markets around the world is helping companies meet new customers and make new sales. And for me, that is absolutely key to what we do. It's not about giving a grant. It is about finding sales for companies and finding new opportunities for companies. We've got lots of stories good stories on our website of case studies, and on our YouTube channels, if you haven't had a look at those, about lots of small companies that have really taken up the challenge and have really tried to go. You know, one story is We Are Paradox, led by CEO Yolanda Cooper. And I do have to read the notes on this because it's a 3-in-1 hair tool, and I'm not particularly au fait with hair straightening products, but their 3-in-1 hair tool straightens curls and waves for people on the go. But we have been working with Paradox and introducing them to a number of our colleagues in markets around the world. And with that advice and support here locally in Northern Ireland, they've attended a number of in-market events and trade shows and have successfully secured distributor agreements throughout Europe, the US, and Middle East. So it doesn't matter what size you are as a business, if you are really interested in growing overseas, we are here to help you do that. And I have another little video of another company here in Northern Ireland that is taking advantage of some of the support that we can give them.
My name is Jenna. I am head of operations here at Art Loves. We are an art and creative consultancy. We also have a gallery. We have our own in-house brands as well. So we create, we source, we design in-house for private and commercial clients mostly. We had a look at the overall business, where the money was coming from, where our customer base was, and how we could grow that. And through our client executive at Invest NI, we took some advice on basically what the next path would be for us, and then she had advised that we look at the TAS service. So the trade advisory service established exactly what directions I needed to go in, was excellent at pointing out new opportunities in the market that I hadn't even considered. The probably most important piece of advice was to create a capabilities document, which we did not have before. So I was armed with a really nice document that I could send whenever I was marketing or targeting new markets, new audiences, and we were really happy with the overall result. I guess at the minute we are trying to create new areas of business, and we're trying to evolve really with the current COVID pandemic situation which everybody is in, so we are developing different ways to sell, but we also it's vital, crucial for our business now that we develop these new markets and new areas of business. We have also recently just been accepted to the TAG programme, which is the Trade Accelerator Grant. We have plans for next year to go out to new markets, and as part of that we've now got support in terms of funding to go and work with some partners, go out and see some exhibitions and attend some of the areas, the shows that we need to be at, and just physically be in the UK and have the financial support to do that. So we look forward to exploring that a bit further next year as well. I would highly recommend Invest NI for any business.
So we have a number of programs that can really help you look at trade capability. So if you're a business and you're an Invest NI client, or you have the potential to become an Invest NI client, and you can demonstrate potential for sales of over £250,000, of which 20% are outside of Northern Ireland, then we want to talk to you and we want to help you. We have practical export skills, how to get into exporting, what are the things that you need to consider. Grow Beyond, which is looking at nearshore markets, and working in conjunction with Intertrade Ireland. We have an Acumen program, which is about selling into the Republic of Ireland. We have programs such as Going Dutch, where we will leverage together the export skills, your pitch optimization before you go to a market, and then take you to that market and introduce you to potential buyers, do some market research. And for those companies that are maybe a little bit of a bigger size, we have a graduate to export program, which is really about taking a recent graduate and going and market researching a new market, where Invest Northern Ireland will fund half of that cost. So we do have a lot of programs available, and if you're interested in exporting or keen to get to do that, we're very keen to do that, or to talk to you. So I guess my concluding comments are, thank you first and foremost for your time and for listening to me talk about what it was. If you have a competitive product or service and considering selling outside of Northern Ireland, we absolutely want to talk to you. And we will be running appointments with our Belfast office next Friday morning. So if you want to get in contact with the Chamber and who can arrange an appointment to do that. You can also contact our business support team on the number on the screen for advice on anything, or direction on or any of our programs that I may have mentioned there. And as I said right at the start, NI Business Info has got an absolute compendium of information about all aspects of running your business. Thank you again. And I firmly believe, and we in Invest Northern Ireland firmly believe, that Northern Ireland has the resilience and we have the real drive to recover from this economic challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was really good. Lots of really interesting, useful information there, which I'm sure we'll come back to later on in the session. We do have an opportunity for questions and answers later on. So if you want to use the question and answer function, it should be at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions for Steve, or indeed anything that Patricia, Keith and Matthew say, please put those into that box, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. If anybody has a question about those 10 offices, no, I didn't get to visit any of them. And we very, very grateful that Steve and the team have made themselves available next Friday for any appointments for anybody who does have an interest in selling outside of Northern Ireland. If you want to contact us on our email address, which is info@belfastchamber.com, we can help set those up next Friday morning at a time that's convenient for you. But what I want to do is, so Invest NI have set out what their job is, and that's about attracting investment and about supporting trade. And what we want to do now is talk to some companies that they've helped to do exactly that. And I mentioned and introduced Keith, Patricia and Matthew earlier. I'm going to go to Keith first. And so Keith is, as I said, Managing Director of Aflac NI. Keith, you're very welcome. It's good to see you. I'm going to start off and say Aflac is a massive, huge brand in the US, but much less known probably to people from Northern Ireland. Maybe you could tell us, what is it that Aflac does, and why are you now doing it here in Belfast?
Yeah, thank you, Simon. So Aflac is a supplemental health insurance company in the US and in Japan. And so we have about 20 million policyholders between the US and Japan that we would serve in terms of if they were sick or if they were hurt, we would pay them money. We're based in a small town in Georgia, in a town called Columbus, Georgia. And that's where we were founded 66 years ago. And over time, as we grew, we realized that we needed to seek talent outside of Columbus, Georgia, and in addition to Columbus, Georgia. So we started a search a few years ago for a new location for cybersecurity and technology. Looked at 15 different cities and ended up here in Northern Ireland in Belfast, and opened our, well, I would say we opened our offices, but nobody opened their offices. So we announced our presence in October of 2019. started building out an office here in City Keys, which was ready in June of 2020, and we hope to fill it sometime in June of 2021.
It's good to hear that you are planning to fill it in. And so maybe you could tell us a little bit about, so interesting you said that it was a search for talent. You looked at 15 cities, including Belfast, and you landed out of all of those 15 cities, which I'm sure are lovely, great cities that people have heard of and visited. What broke through for Belfast? What was the sort of, what stood out? What made that decision an easy one in the end for Aflac?
Yeah, I think, Belfast and Northern Ireland as a whole obviously has a reputation that is growing quickly as a financial technology center. So, obviously that's what brought it onto the short list. But there are other places that were there as well. We did our first visit in December of 2016, and it really is the feeling you get on the ground when you get here. And I know that's critically important for Invest Northern Ireland and other folks, and it's challenging. You can't bring people here during the pandemic. But for us, that was the deal closer. I mean, obviously we hear about the ecosystem that exists between the universities, the government, and the businesses. But just as important as that ecosystem is the ecosystem within the city. And so it's your coffee shops, your retail stores, the restaurants we would go to. My first trip here, I went to the Belfast Clipper and got a haircut. It's those things that really kind of give you a feel for what the people are like when you're not being shown around by Invest Northern Ireland, where of course people are going to tell you the best parts. So that was really, I think, what sealed the deal for us, was as we started to see just the hospitality of this place. The talent we knew would be great. We'd seen that from Citi, Allstate, Liberty Mutual. There were plenty of companies to tell us that there was great talent, but it was also just seeing the warmth of the community.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, because I think a lot of people think of inward investment and investors coming and looking at Belfast. It's entirely a kind of a talent-based or even bottom line decision, but you're saying it's as much about the kind of fabric of the city. Because I think I met you in that first visit back in 2016. In spite of that, the firm still invested in the city. And to hear you talk about retail and talk about hospitality as part of an ecosystem in the city as a key component within that sort of magnet to draw talent here is interesting. And you've got a great story, which I've heard before, and I'm going to ask you to tell everybody else around how we saw Virgil, your colleague in Steve's presentation, how an issue with his suit helped to show you what this city was about, and might have played a little bit of a part in investing in Aflac's investment in Belfast.
Yeah, it absolutely did. And it's kind of a funny story when you think about all the work and effort and design that Invest and I puts into a visit. Who would have thought that a suit shop would have been the thing that closed the deal, which you have no control over, right? But that's what happens, very authentically. So here's the story. We fly over from Georgia in through London and then over to Belfast, and we get to the city airport, and Virgil's luggage is lost. And because of the long flight, it was just jeans and a t-shirt for Virgil. So that's all he had to his name in this country. And we were staying at the Merchant Hotel. So we went in and we were trying to, figure out where we could find some clothing. It was about, 4:40 in the afternoon. And they suggested, well, if you go down to Ann Street, which of course we didn't know where that was, but they said, if you just go towards Victoria Square, which we didn't know where that was, if you look at the big globe of glass in the sky and just walk that way. So, okay, we walk towards that. We find this place called Bogart's Menswear, and they're pulling down the shutters because it's now, 5 till and they're about to close. And, knock on the door. They have no idea who we are, other than they know we're clearly foreigners because of our accents. And we say, listen, he's lost his suitcase. We have this meeting tomorrow at Stormont with some important, Minister of the Economy and some other folks that, we need to dress right for. Would you have a suit? And sorry, you're just closing. Long story short, they'd stay open for about 20 to 25 more minutes, helped him try on different suits. And then when we got the suit, the trousers were too long. They needed to be hemmed. And of course, now it's, 5:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. There's nobody that would do that. So one of the gentlemen there, Steven, said, listen, I'll take it home with me. My neighbor down the road does some alterations. I'll have her help me out, and then we'll have it for you in the morning. And we said, well, that's so kind of you, but we're leaving at 7:30 to be at Stormont at 8. So, you won't be open. So that won't work for us. He said, it's no bother. I'll come in early. Where are you staying? The Merchant? Okay, great. I'll be there, let's say 6:45 with your trousers, and you can go from there. And sure enough, there was this guy from the suit store 2 hours before they open, sitting there in the lobby of the Merchant Hotel with some trousers so that Virgil would go to this meeting. we never told them who we were or why we were there. They didn't know that we were looking to invest here. They just thought we were tourists that needed a suit. And so that I think is just one of those stories that, Virgil turned to me and he said, this is the kind of place where I want to set up an operation, because when people can take care of the customer like that, just naturally, that's the kind of place that Aflac wants to be. So it ended up being a huge, significant deal for us, and something we talked about when we went back to the States. And really, no other city, kind of rose to the occasion like we saw that. And again, it's Bogart, it's other places like that we've just seen people go above and beyond.
Super. I think it's a brilliant story and perfectly summarizes just how it is an ecosystem, how there is that symbiotic relationship between a shop, a clothes shop in this case, and a financial technology firm, and how that can actually help to swing a deal. So I think it's a brilliant story and just sums up Belfast beautifully. So thanks for that, Keith. And again, thanks for your investment in the city and all that you're doing. We'll maybe come back to you later for some other questions. So I want to turn to Patricia. Patricia Rogers is the Support Services Centre Head for Allen Overy. And maybe start off similar with you, Patricia. I mean, Allen Overy is one of the world's, by any measure, one of the world's leading largest law firms. So what do you do in Belfast, and why has a London-based law firm of the size and scale of Allen Overy made Belfast its home?
Yeah, I think you say, it's one of the biggest law firms in the world, but it probably isn't very well known in Belfast at all. So I'll just give a little bit about the firm itself. So as you say, it is a global law firm. It primarily practices banking and corporate law, but does a bit of litigation and stuff. It won't do the conveyancing on my house, but there you go. So it has 40 offices all over the world. And why did we end up in Belfast? Well, I think coming out of the back end of the recession in 2010, the firm decided that it really needed to move a lot of its support services, so things like finance and IT, out of London, where they were primarily housed, into a lower cost location. So it was what a lot of our clients were doing, and it was something that we felt that we needed to do as well. And the ambition, and it was ambition, was to have about 200 support services staff somewhere else in the world. And we started a location study that looked at three things primarily: cost, quality, and risk. I think cost speaks for itself. Quality in terms of lifestyle, quality in terms of labour force, quality in terms of accessibility to the A&O hub in London, and risk. Risk in terms of tax risk, political risk, etc., etc. We started with a long list of over 40, and it got whittled down to 7 locations being visited. Belfast was not one of those locations at the time, and it was actually one of our lawyers in Hong Kong who came from Coleraine, who said, why don't you think about Northern Ireland? So Invest NI was called up, and they arranged a visit, and suddenly Belfast came on the short list. So our final 3, we were down to Belfast, Egypt, and Manila. Think about it, this was 2010. The Arab Spring happened very soon thereafter, so it's a good job we didn't choose Egypt. The reason Belfast won out was because it was felt that it wasn't the cheapest. We could have gone cheaper to either of those locations, but it gave us the best opportunity for longevity in terms of, the depth of the labour market, the quality of the graduates coming out of the universities, meant that this perhaps might not just be a 200-person operation, it might be more. And not only could we set up a support services centre, but there was the opportunity as well to set up a legal services centre. So now what we have is, that decision has proven to be correct, because now what we have, from an ambition of a 200-person operation, we now have over 600 people we grow every single year, both on the legal side and on the support side. We, in terms of the type of services as well, there's a real extensive range of services that we deliver across many geographies. It was thought initially that we would only provide support to the UK, but we go across all geographies, across all time zones, and we deliver our service in many languages.
Brilliant. Another great story around why Belfast was chosen. And so, I mean, it sounds, after an initially, to be a small investment by the firm of around 200, to see you're going to 600. So that kind of, not only is this a good place for all of those factors to invest, but also a great place to grow, and maybe talk a little bit about that. But also, I think I'm right in saying that you weren't working in Belfast yourself at that time. You were, Steve talked about NI connections in our diaspora. You were working elsewhere in the world. You've come back to Belfast, and again, maybe talk about why that was the case and why you decided to bring your career back to the place that you grew up in.
Sure. So I left Northern Ireland, I think before Matthew was born in 1988, just as I graduated, and I was away for 25 years. I left Northern Ireland probably for a lot of the reasons people left at that time. It was very unstable here, and actually there weren't the opportunities. So I did my degree here. I did it in banking and finance, and I left and went to work in banking in London. I'm an accountant by profession, so I'm not a banker. I'm an accountant. I don't know which is worse, but anyway. And for 25 years, I worked in banking at various global banks. And that took me all over the world. I've worked in London, I've worked in Frankfurt, I've worked in New York, and I've worked in Singapore. And actually, after Singapore, we had a decision to make about whether or not to come back to Northern Ireland or whether to go back to London. And my family split, not just in terms of my husband and my daughter decided to come and live in Northern Ireland, and I commuted to London. Because again, there weren't that many roles at my level. But then when Allen Overy set up in Northern Ireland, and at the same time, I think there was a little flurry of FDI activity, and a role came up in Allen Overy, and I thought, well, I can go back and do that role. And there is enough, depth in the market, and more companies are coming in that there are opportunities there. So if I don't stay at Allen Overy, there will be opportunities elsewhere. So I think it was that, again, it was that sustainability thing. I came back to Northern Ireland because, obviously because of family, education for my daughter. Actually, having lived in London for a really, and lots of other cities for a really long time, I realised the sense of community in Northern Ireland is second to none. And that's absolutely how I wanted my daughter to be brought up. So again, we're back to, it's the same story really, isn't it? Same as Keith was saying, it's about the ecosystem that we have here.
Yeah, and I think your story shows the importance of FDI to and that those brands and big names to attracting people back, but also you're right, that lifestyle and quality of life. And so again, thank you, Patricia, for that. And again, thank you to the firm for all of those ongoing investments and that growth that you're doing in Belfast. So if you just stick with us, we'll maybe have a question or two just at the end as well. Thank you. I'm going to then go over to Matthew Nesbitt from Halo Technologies. Matthew is, as Patricia said, frighteningly young, but doing incredibly well. Matthew, again, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and Halo Technologies and what exactly it is for those who maybe don't know what exactly it is that the company does. As Steve said, you're a very, very new firm, but you're incredibly successful in terms of your growth outside of Northern Ireland. Maybe give us a flavour of where you're selling your products to and how the business is performing.
Sure. Well, I'll give you a quick brief intro about me. I am originally from Armagh, but I've moved up to Belfast for a number of years. I went to university in Aberdeen, which took me away. From there, I went and worked in a gold mine in Kalgoorlie in Western Australia, driving 50-ton articulated dump trucks. From there, I moved to the Middle East, where I was selling sand in the desert. And then about 3 years ago, I decided that I took sort of my life into my own hands and started to actually do something with myself. So I moved back to 3.5 years ago, maybe, sorry, but moved back to Belfast and was looking at a number of different options and ended up falling into the body cam industry, as random as that is, and really enjoyed the industry. You know, it was and it is a really rapidly growing industry. I'm sure you see all over the world, we have this rapid expansion in this accountability piece in policing particularly, but also in military and in the private sectors, whether that's even going in the doors of Asda or Sainsbury's, there's a body cam on the door staff. Even the cashiers and things like that are starting to wear them too. So rapidly expanding industry. Well, you can tell you the 18th of April, 2019, I decided to set out on my own, along with a business partner who was also in the industry, who had to really pressurize into joining me. His name's Allen Overy. He's my business partner. He's absolutely fantastic. But we left and we sought some investment. We went through a few different options and ended up settling with a company that is an investment group that are based really between here in the north, Southern Ireland, and in GB. So they have a good spread. But to get us going, to put proofs of concept to our business model, they gave us 10 grand and said, go and see what you can do with that. So we flew to Shenzhen via Hong Kong into China, where we went and met 14 factories over just under 3 weeks. And I can tell you that was a very interesting experience for anyone who likes Chinese food. Food in China is not Chinese food that we get here. We're talking chicken feet and all those lovely things. But it was an interesting few weeks, and we narrowed it down to a number of manufacturing partners that we could work with. From there, after a number of more trips, we settled on the company that we went with. All our design and everything's done here in Belfast, but more the assembly and that side of things done there in China. But after a long, probably, I would say just under 12 months, probably 10 months, we were able to bring the products to market. Along in partnership, we had a company work with us to bring us a software package to bring these, which is our body-worn camera, which you'll see on police officers around the country, amongst other staff. So we brought that whole package together. Company based in Belfast built our software package, and in just over 10 months, we brought Halo to market. Halo was very fortunate to start trading in January 2020, where we ended up in a global pandemic. So within 2.5 months, we had everyone at home. I'm not going to say we panicked, but we certainly had an interesting time. Fortunately, within the first 2 to 3 months, because Alan and I had spent probably the previous 6 months flying around GB, particularly trying to drum up business with nothing more than a 3D model that was 3D printed of this, plastic essentially, and also some pictures. That's all we had. So we drummed up some business. Unfortunately, we landed some phenomenal clients in that period. And because we're in the recurring revenue model, that's sticking with us. So we're getting these 3 and 4 and 5 year contracts. They're paying us monthly. So through that pandemic, really from the get-go, we were fortunate to have a lot of our costs covered, thanks to that business model. And that sort of brought us to through the pandemic. Invest and I helped us to no end. They helped us with employing staff. You know, within the first few months, we rapidly grew to an 8-person team, and with plans to continue to 20 over the next 6 months. But pandemic slowed it somewhat. But Invest and I were fantastic to get us back on track. It's a bit about me, but go on.
And just very quickly, maybe you could tell us a flavour of where you're selling this product to.
Sure.
You mentioned, you know, I think people tend to think small companies based here, maybe just selling into the sort of local market, or maybe into GB or down south. But when we're allowed to travel again and we're around the world, where might people see Halo Technologies body cams?
Well, you will already see us. We do supply the traffic division of the Indonesian police. They have 45,000 police officers. We currently have a large-scale pilot, fully paid and licensed with us for long term, but we're in the process of doing a full-scale rollout there. So if you're in Jakarta or if you're in Bali, which is more likely, you'll maybe be on your moped and you'll see a police officer with a Halo cam. We're also in Spain. You'll see us on 6 different Spanish police forces. If you're down in Marbella, you will see us. If you're in Madrid, you will be seeing us in the next few weeks. If you are in the Basque Country, you will see us. If you are in Catalonia, you will hopefully see us very soon. We have a great presence in Spain, all very early doors in terms of small deployments going into these departments, but the concepts have been proven, and now we're in the process of moving that forward. We actually just had a live streaming demonstration of the camera on a police officer in the middle of the city, going around his business with the mayor of Madrid, who wanted this to happen. He contacted our team in Spain to make this happen, so that was quite a cool experience. You'll also see us in Holland. We actually manufacture for another body camera company in Holland, because what we've put together is really as high-end technology as you can get globally. So they supply the Dutch police. They've asked us to come on board and to manufacture their hardware, and they do their own software. So delighted about that partnership, and we're hoping to see, if you're in Amsterdam, you'll see us again. And then, you know, across the Atlantic, we are in the USA and Canada. Invest and I actually set us up with, it was Michael Barton in the Toronto office, set us up with PSP, who's our distribution partner for the region. So we're currently in live trial at the Royal Canadian Mint, which is very exciting. We've also been looking at the Royal Mounted Police, guys at the Mounties up on the horses. So you'll maybe see us on a horse at some stage. And yeah, we're right across the States. We set up an office in January in Austin, Texas. So we have a really good spread from East Coast to West Coast. We have a fantastic deployment. Just went live in Martinez City, which is just on the outskirts of San Francisco in the Bay Area. So that's a great deployment. And again, we're right across the center from Chicago to Illinois to Missouri to the East Coast.
Very good. Thank you, Matthew, for that. And I think that's, you know, again, really fascinating. Maybe come back to you, Steve. And that just shows the ability of firms here with the help of Invest and I. It doesn't matter. I think perhaps sometimes there's an impression that, you know, it is all about the big firms, and we've heard from Keith and Patricia. You're definitely in that bracket, but you know, that ability to help small firms. We heard from Art Loves as well in your video. You know, that there is that opportunity for small firms here to sell outside. And one of the questions we've got from Steve Barry is from Angoka, who are a cybersecurity firm based in Belfast, is about overseas trade missions. And obviously, you know, we've all had to adapt over this last year. We don't know how long sort of restrictions are going to last, but that kind of one-to-one selling or one-to-one going to kind of sell Northern Ireland is obviously important. What are your plans? I mean, when do you see that coming back online, and how are you kind of compensating in the meantime?
Yeah, I think everyone in the team and Invest and I, like everyone else, is just wants travel to open up again and get out to market. Whilst we can do all of this, you know, as we're doing today, and it's brilliant, it's really advanced it. There's nothing to beat the face-to-face and the account, you know, the building of those relationships that, you know, let's face it, in Northern Ireland, we're pretty good at that sort of stuff. We like that sort of stuff, building relationships. So I think there'll be a queue of people looking to go on trade missions. You know, it's going to be a couple of years since we ran one. We absolutely will do them again. It's just when it's safe and ready to go. We have obviously Expo 2020 happening in Dubai from October for 6 months. You know, that's going to be a huge event. And I think certainly in my mind, kind of see that as almost kickstarting international travel. But who knows with the restrictions, Simon? But yeah, we're as soon as we're able to, we'll be back out there leading companies and trade missions and helping them.
Yeah, we've had a comment too from Allen Overy, who our Belfast Chamber member from Environmental Street Furniture, who recently just the company received a Queen's Award for exporting. We're really proud of their achievement in doing that. So well done, Alan and the team. But that ability to get to Dubai, where they have been able to sell products and do it is obviously important, and hopefully that'll come back soon. Hopefully.
It is, and I think it's brilliant to see a company like ESF get a Queen's Award for enterprise for exporting. I think that's fantastic. Matthew's story is brilliant, right? It's absolutely superb to hear where he's in the police force in Jakarta right through to the Mounties. It's a phenomenal story, and all I would say is that we have got some very big companies here exporting in Northern Ireland, the likes of PowerScreen. They started off like Matthew. And they, yes, they're now owned by a huge US conglomerate, which is brilliant. But we need more Matthews. We need more businesses in Northern Ireland to have the ambition that Halo have to go to those markets around the world. We're here to help them grow. We love it. It's all about sales, and let's really grow our economy.
And the common thread, looking back to you, Keith and Patricia now, and common thread really throughout this is talent, and that ability of that talent to innovate, be creative, and I think one of the things that's come through as well is that having universities and the access to universities, and obviously now Belfast looking forward to having 2 universities in the city in the next number of months, and having that relationship. We've talked about lifestyle, quality of life, nighttime economy. Question from Mia Harvey about the arts sector, and arts and culture and music is incredibly important in creating that vibrancy. But that's what ultimately all adds up to attracting talent. And neither of your firms would be here if it wasn't for that and those connections to the university. So, moving forward, clearly, would your message be to invest in I and others, and just keep that pipeline of talent, keep concentrating, focus, and making sure that those young people are coming out of Queens and Ulster and Belfast Met with the skills that companies like yours need?
Absolutely. I think that's really important. And one of the things I think that has driven the growth, so we now have more than 600 people here in our Belfast office from the ambition of 200. And one of the things that has driven that growth is the quality of the guys coming out of the universities. And not just that, we don't have too many, but we've started working with Belfast Met as well on apprenticeships. So I think it's really important not just to consider the universities, but don't forget about the colleges of further education, etc., or school leavers. Keeping connections with schools is really important as well. Yeah. And we do a lot of work, with Hazelwood and with various other schools. And so the growth driven by the quality of the people and the fact that we've proven that actually we don't do just entry-level roles. We now have a lot more knowledge-based professional roles in the office as well. So
thanks, Patricia. And Keith, one of the first things that Aflac did was an Assured Skills program. How did that work out? Are you been able to? You're saying you opened an office when you couldn't open an office, but you've continued to recruit throughout this, and are you're finding that talent in Belfast, and it's obviously working for the firm, and is it fulfilling that expectation that you had when the decision was made that you would get the people that you need in the city?
Absolutely. And the Assured Skills program through Belfast Met and working with the DFE was a great accelerator for us. We launched a year and a half ago. We currently have, with accepted offers, 99 people. So just as a plug, if you want to be employee number 100, that position is posted on our website. You could have that title. But to go from 0 to 99 in a year and a half during a pandemic, I don't think there's a lot of places that could do that, and cities with the things that are built in through things like Assured Skills that we have and the support. I mean, when they said Assured Skills, they meant, rain, sleet, snow, pandemic, we will assure the skills are there. And, it's delivered. And I'll tell you just one other thing. The US has started to say, in terms of the quality of the work that's being done here, now there's a phrase where, well, why don't we do it the Northern Irish way? Well, why don't we do it the way the team in Belfast does it? And so when people say the Northern Irish way, I question what do they mean by the Northern Irish way. But I can assure you, it's a way of doing software development that is faster, more agile, with a better result. And I love that I have people with a Southern accent in the US saying, why don't we do it the Northern Irish way?
Brilliant. I think that's the perfect point which to conclude our event today. Let's keep doing things the Northern Irish way. Let's do things the Belfast way. Can I just thank all of you? I think that was a fascinating, informative hour for our members, and really appreciate everybody's time. I want to particularly thank Steve for the effort that he has put into making that presentation, and also the work that he and the team are doing to sell Northern Ireland and help Northern Ireland sell to the world. I want to particularly thank Susan O'Kane, one of his colleagues, for helping make this event possible. Thank you, Susan, for everything. I thank Patricia and Matthew and Keith on all our behalfs, not just for their time today, but everything that they're doing, the investments that they're making, that example that they're setting, and the fact that we need more Matthews is another takeaway from today's event. Can I also thank Neil and Catherine from ND Events for all their help in making this possible. Can I thank all of you for attending today? Please take Steve up on the offer. If you have a product you think you're ready to sell, you want a bit of help to sell a new product or different products or whatever, we have those capacity for those follow-ups next Friday. That's the 14th. Drop us an email at info@belfastchamber.com and we'll help to hook you up next week with the team at Invest NI. I want to put a plug in for our next couple of events. We have the launch of a survey that we've been doing in partnership with Bar Media NI, some really interesting results about the road to business recovery in Belfast. We're launching that next Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. That's Wednesday the 12th. And we're also looking again, focusing on recovery, an event with in partnership with Openreach around the importance of, and we've had a bit of a theme here this morning too, around the digital technology and how essential infrastructure like ultra-fast broadband has helped the Belfast economy in the last year and can continue. Something that Steve touched on in his presentation, produce in the future. So that's next Friday morning as well. So go to our website, belfastchamber.com, to register for those events, and look forward to maybe seeing some of you at that. So again, thanks to Steve, Patricia, Keith, Matthew for your time. Thank you to everybody for attending. Look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Take care.